I think for me personally, I was more aware of my goals as a company, and it forced me to look at the vision for where we were going as a company. I think that also it made it much easier for me to manage the staff when the staff also came along and they understood what the big picture was. I think for my staff, it personally challenged them to also take consideration that their job just wasn't a job duty that they do, but that every decision they made applied into the goal of the company. One staff member who was greatly impacted is my bakery manager. And I saw how she applied what she learned in the workshops and in the sessions to dealing with a very difficult employee. We had an employee that we needed to talk to, and normally she would be very fearful to confront properly. But also she was quite nervous to hear the feedback, the negative feedback that she might receive from the other employees around her. And what I saw was that she stood very firm and she stood very confident after the session, because she realized that in order to deal with this employee, that she took the long-term goal and vision of the company into consideration, and therefore she was able to confront them with great character and also confidence. One thing that I really learned from the sessions was to listen first. Was to really listen and see where my listening skills were with my staff. They have a lot of good advice and feedback. And sometimes as a leader, we don't always want to be the ones to listen because we are in the position to tell rather than listen. But it was a really important step, was to listen first. And then I think second advice change that we had was to make an action plan for the problems that we faced. So I encouraged my staff to develop their problem-solving abilities, and then to put together an action plan. And together we would then look over the action plan, whether it kept our goals in mind or if we were trying to avoid something that was difficult. And so sometimes we have to walk the difficult role as a manager in order to break through to have a bigger vision. I also think that it allows my staff, I saw them to taking ownership of the ideas that they put forth. And they learned to not be afraid to share a way that might be more helpful in the environment, especially culturally with the Vietnamese. I have a very Western point of view, and when we are working in a cross-cultural situation overseas, it's important for us to be able to listen for the cultural aspects that might work better in that situation. And I also help them change by guiding them through challenging situations. So we talk it over and we walk step by step through how to implement the change so that it doesn't come across to the staff suddenly, but that they can also see why we're making a change in our policies or in the systems that we've created. Sometimes as you grow as a company, you need to change your systems. You need to change your approaches. And if you have a long-term employee that's been there for a long time, it's hard for them to see the change that's necessary unless you show them and explain to them. So I think it's creating an action plan, and also myself as an owner and a manager to walk alongside and mentor the younger managers in how to be a successful manager. My biggest piece of advice would be to invest in your company. It was one of the best financial decisions that we made was to invest in our company because it developed the people. Normally, people want a quick answer, and what I found was that my staff didn't change just after one session, that it really needed to be built upon, and it really needed to be putting a stronger foundation on the staff in order for them to grow properly. It takes time, and it was important for me to invest in that over time. I found that my staff were much more joyful in their managing skills because their confidence was brought up, but also that they just didn't, they took the advice that was given to them very seriously, and they tried it in their daily lives, which was a great level of growth that I saw in them.